I scaled Mindvalley from $25 million to $75 million a year in 2 years. And now I run a 7-figure marketing agency helping the best course creators in the world. But it didn't start like that. It started with a 200 euro salaries in India, dropping out of university, dropping out of some of the biggest companies in the world to try to find my passion. And today in this video, you're gonna discover it all. The good and the bad. All the things that you can do to take your business and bring it to the absolute next level. You see this tattoo? That's a very important part of the story. It's pretty big in my arm, so everyone asks me about it, so better to tell it. This tattoo says, live as if you were to die tomorrow. Think as if you were to live forever. And at the center of it, there is the nickname of my brother. And the reason why I have this tattoo is because my brother passed away when I was 16, he was 19. And up until then, no one would have ever thought that I could do anything. I come from a very little town in Italy. I was a C student, not talented in any particular thing, and no one really thought that I would have an international career or be one of the top marketers in the world. So what changed there? That single episode changed the way in which I look at life. It actually showed me how you can die tomorrow, how you need to live with a sense of urgency. And that's what I did. I turned my life around when I was 16, and I tried to use every single occasion to do things. A lot of times those things were very random, but I was not afraid anymore to live the life I really wanted to live. The biggest passion my brother had was working for a club. And so I decided to go into that life to honor him. And working for a club was nice. But after a while I was like, hey, you know what? I can actually start my own club. I can start my own party. Why not? So I decided to make a deal with the club, run the club, creating my own team, and bringing the best DJs from all over the country in my little town. We threw the best parties ever. And we were also making some good money. I was 17, 18. And that was so exciting. I was like, that's the life I want to be. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to create things. I want to change my life and the life of people around me. So that's when I decided that if I want to do this properly, I need to go into business school, learn a bit of economics and marketing, and take this to the next level. And the next level for me was learning English and try to go out of my little town. Because if you think that this is bad, you just have no idea how it was back then. I literally was speaking no English. In my town, in Italy in general, people don't speak English. But how do you learn English when you come from a little town with no tourists and no one ever speaks English there? You need to go out. The only problem is that in my town, everyone was going to London and be a dishwasher. And I was like, I don't want to wash dishes. I don't wash dishes neither at home. Why do I want to do this for a job? And so I decided I needed something else. Luckily, in my university, there was an organization named ISEC that was sending students from Italy abroad in international exchanges. And this was great because, hey, I don't need to wash any dishes and I can actually go volunteer, meet people and improve my English. That's so exciting. And so I applied for this organization and I asked them, can you send me to England? And they're like, I'm sorry, there is no opportunity there. But you know what? We do have something that might be interesting for you. Have you ever heard about India? I was like, okay, yeah. I was like, well, they speak English there. You should go there. And I'm like, yeah, why not? Let's do it. I just watched Slumdog Millionaire and I'm like, I know everything about India. This is the best country in the world. Let's go. And so I went. I spent 6 weeks in India in a little town named Baroda in Gujarat. That was a place that was like very different than when I grew up with, right? I had water for 3 hours a day, but it was such a magical experience. I saw how so many people live. I had so many great adventures and I started having international friends and speaking English. I was like, this is the life I want to have. I want to have this international exposure, this international experience. That's why when I came back in Italy, I decided to focus a bit more in this organization, ISEC, and to become first the president of my town and then to go on and lead the organization in Italy. So a few years after, I became the president of ISEC in Italy and I was leading over 1,000 people in Italy in 20 different cities to send people abroad and welcoming them in our country. And this was so exciting because it was like running a company, obviously for a non-profit, learning so much, but I was just 22, 23. I had no idea what I was doing, but managing big budget, making big sales with big companies, and really learning so much about what I would do. My entire work in this organization was organizing huge projects, selling those projects, and then getting people from all over the world to come to Italy. And that really meant planning the entire system, making sure that more and more people will come in and that we could create a very big change in those people's lives. I didn't know exactly what I was doing. I didn't know the word, but I was basically building a funnel. And that's where my marketing career really started. Once I finished this incredible experience, I had already some jobs that were lined up, some opportunities that were really cool, but I had a problem. I still have 5 exams to finish my master's. And I was just like, not gonna do it. So I came back home and I said to my mom, Mom, I have this incredible opportunity. I have a job lined up in India and I really want to take it. I'm gonna be a journalist and I'm going to interview the best entrepreneurs of India. And this is going to be the coolest experience of my life. And my mom was like, oh wow, okay, this sounds cool, but you have university, well, how much are you gonna make? And I was very excited. I was like, Mom, I'm gonna make 200 euros. And my mom looked at me like, are you nuts? Are you really dropping out of university to make 200 euros a month? And that's exactly how the story went. I decided to go. My mom somehow decided to let me go. And that's how I went back to India, this time to Bangalore. And I work on a company that is named Your Story. Right now it's a very big blog, but back then I was employee number 10 and it was sort of TechCrunch in India. So we were covering all the different startups in India, all the different social enterprises, and I was writing a lot of incredible stories of entrepreneurs there. And my life was pretty amazing because I could actually interview entrepreneurs, have those incredible conversations, ask them anything. And for me, this was paradise. Because imagine being able to chat with so many entrepreneurs when you want to be an entrepreneur. It's just perfect. But there was a little problem. I didn't like to write. And being a journalist required you to write, right? Podcasts weren't a thing back then. So the 1 hour where I was interviewing was incredible. The 7 hours where I needed to write were horrible. So I was very clear I couldn't be a journalist. But I say, okay, let's enjoy this experience at the best. And that's what I did. This journey took me to travel all over India to really see the best entrepreneurs there, see the company they've been building, see the stories that they were creating. And it was so inspiring because it was really showing me, okay, that's my next step. I need to become an entrepreneur. That's exactly what I need to do. So after this journey in India, I decided to go back home and look for my next step. And I didn't felt ready for entrepreneurship. I didn't know what to start. I really wanted to make an experience in a proper company. And that's when the opportunity to work for Apple came in. A friend of mine was working there. She told me about this job and then I applied. I went through the different process. And to my surprise, I was hired to work for Apple in London in HR, in recruiting. And when I asked them, why did you hire me? They told me, well, we've never seen a 24-year-old that led this big organization and then work in India and had this entire experience in India. You're like unique. And that was important because I never optimized for money, especially when I was young. I was optimizing for experience. And that's what got me in the #1 company in the world. Now, Apple was my dream company. I've always been looking at Apple like the best company in the world. I love Steve Jobs. I read every single book about him. And it was my inspiration for the entire life. And working for Apple taught me so much. I learned how a world-class company really operates. I saw so many different things and I was incredibly excited every single day to go work for the company, create the magic and being part of being #1 in the world. But there was a little problem. I'm not a recruiter. And my job was really, really boring. And it was really tough for me to go every day and then screening CVs or doing a lot of interviews to candidates while I wanted to do something else. I needed to be an entrepreneur. I needed to go the extra mile. This was a huge issue for me. After a few months, I was already in burnout. Not because I was working too much, because I was working too little, because I was too bored with what I was doing. I was in a golden prison. Everyone was looking up at me and be like, Alessio, you work for Apple. You live in Camden Town. You go work every day in Covent Garden. You have a great salary. You made it. Your dream. No one from our little town actually went there. You are living the dream. But I hated every single minute of it. And I remember I was talking with one of my managers there, and she was saying to me, look, Alessio, you're incredible, but maybe Apple is not right for you. Maybe you just need to look for something else if you feel like that. And she was absolutely right. I was giving my best, I was still good at my job, but that wasn't really the thing. I needed to look for something else. I needed to go back and really try to understand what I want to do with my life once again. Now, around that time, I remember about this guy that spoke on stage at a conference I attended a few years before. And this guy was an Indian looking guy, but he was from a country named Malaysia. And I don't really remember what he talked about. I just remember that at the end of his talk, I was just like, one day I want to work for this guy. And obviously the name of that guy is Vishen Lakhiani. And the company was running is Mindvalley. And I was so inspired by him as a person and as an entrepreneur. And I really felt that somehow it could help me become who I really wanted to become. And that's why I decided to apply for this company. I didn't care about the role. I actually said, look, put me in customer support, put me in the lowest job that you have. I don't care. I know that once I'll be there, things will figure out by itself. And they told me, well, we have a position for project manager. And I'm like, sure, project management, let's do that. And they told me, okay, you can come in, here is the offer. They gave me the offer, and the offer is 800 euros a month. And I was like, are you kidding me? I'm earning 5 times that right now, and I need to cut my salary again? But then again, it's not about ROI, it's about rate of learning. You need to look for what you want to learn. You don't need to look for money when you're 24, when you're 25. You need to actually look at the long-term ROI. How this experience will transform myself so that I can make so much more money in the future. Not how much more money am I making now compared to what I was doing before. And so I decided to do it. I took the salary cut, took the flight, and went to Malaysia. And I remember, first day, first meeting, there is a daily huddle. And at the center of it, Vishen, spreading all his ideas around how to improve our email, how to improve advertising, how to do the next marketing campaign. And when I looked at that, I'm like, yes, that's where I want to be. I want to have this kind of excellence around me. And it's funny because in Apple, I was surrounded by excellence, the #1 company in the world, but not in the way in which I wanted it. This, in Mindvalley, there was the right energy, the right things that I needed in this moment to take my career to the next level. Now, about my role. I was a project manager. That, as you know, means everything and nothing. But in Mindvalley, luckily, that meant launching products. And this was a really hard job. A lot of people really struggle in this role. I was working in a division, Mindvalley Italy, and I was pretty scared on my first launch. But the reality is that when I started doing, it actually went super well. And everyone was very surprised. It's like, whoa, this kid just joined, the first launch he does, it nailed it so well. And I was like, how come I'm that good at this thing? Well, here is the fun fact. You remember when before I said I was managing ISEC and I was bringing all those students and I was doing all these activities? I was basically launching products. I was basically building funnels. And that was a very real life experience that helped me so much to then apply it into launching products in Mindvalley. And that's where I realized this is what I want to do. This is really that passion, that fire that I was looking for. From the moment on, I was clear. I was in love. I'm in love with marketing. I want to build funnels. I want to launch products. And what I would do is that I will just study, go to work, implement, and then again, go back home, speak with my friends about marketing again and again till when I'm too tired to fall asleep. But quickly, I realized I wanted more. Mindvalley Italy was cute, was nice to start, but I really wanted to work on Mindvalley core. I wanted to work on the main engine and take the entire company to the next level. The thing is that I wanted a role that will allow me to experiment, to test a lot of new things. And there was not that role. I needed to invent it for myself. And so while studying, I learned about this thing named growth hacking. And I was like, what is that about? Well, it's simple. It's about hacking the growth of a company. And how do you do that? Through a series of tests and experimentations. And I was like, that's what I want to do. So, together with my friend Vadim, that you'll hear about him in the story because it's fundamental, I pitched for this role of becoming the growth hacker on Mindvalley core, and then I get hired. Vadim becomes my boss, and I am ready to experiment, test, and try a million things. The first project was actually to hack our blog. Because back then, blog was a very big thing. And we needed to figure out how can we get as many email subscribers as possible from our blog. And that's what we started to play around. And I remember we had about 7.5% of people that were reading the blog that were becoming email subscriber. That was a huge number because in the industry people would have 1 or 2%. So I was very excited about this and I say, what can I do next? And I remember I started thinking, can I hack our checkout? Can we improve our conversion rate there? Can we run different pricing tests to make sure that we can get more revenues from the things that we're doing? And I was starting to learning. And soon they expanded my role and asked me, why don't you work with every team in Mindvalley? And why don't you do tests for different teams? And that's what I started to do. Started to work with the content team, the social media team, with the advertising team, with the evergreen team, with the launch team. And it was incredible. The more I was testing, the more I was trying, the more we were learning, the more we were growing. But sometimes growth hacking is a lot about how many tests can you do? And it's not enough about how important is the test that you're doing. Because you can do a test about what color of the button is better, or you can do a test about how can you actually take and change the entire company. And that's what I wanted to do. Back then, Mindvalley had 2 different products. One product was called courses. And a course. You just sign up for the course, you go through the course, and whenever you buy the course, it just starts. And then they created a new product with a new app that was named Quest. And the Quest was slightly different because the Quest wasn't starting at any time. The Quest was starting at a specific time, it had a specific community, and the lessons weren't like a 2-3 hours lesson. It was like a 10 minutes lesson that would unlock every single day. So that you needed to do a quest for maybe 30 days or 60 days, and then you could finish it together with a cohorted community going through that. And these quests were killing it. We were doing so many revenues with that, and it was really growing. While the courses were kind of old and boring. But there was a problem. When it came to evergreen, meaning when it came to do advertising and attracting new people into the Mindvalley organization, we were just promoting courses. And I remember that I went to Vision and I told him this. It's like, look, Vision, we have this Mercedes, which is the courses, which is nice, don't get me wrong, but then we have this Ferrari that is in our garage and no one can see it till when they come in our list and then we launch it. Why are we doing that? Why are we not taking the Ferrari and show it to everyone in the world so that everyone will want to join Mindvalley? And Vision was very worried. It was like, how do we do that? Because the uniqueness of a quest is that it starts all together, it needs to come all together, and it needs to be this sense of community. And I was like, why don't we replicate this community every single month? Why don't we start all our quests every single month? Vision looked at me and was like, okay, let's try. Now, here is the interesting thing. You don't need to convince people to change the entire company. You say, can you let me run one test? That's all I need. And if this works, it might change the company. And that's what we did. We ran this quest, and when we ran this quest, the results were incredible. What we saw was that if we were comparing a course and transforming it into a quest, we will make 30% more revenue in a quest. Why is this happening? Again, because there was a scarcity that the quest was starting at a specific date, there was a community, and there was the entire framing of the quest, of the new app, of the new technology that was a lot more exciting than a simple course. And when I showed the result to Vision, Vision looked at me and it was like, Alessio, I want you to lead our evergreen team. And I remember I was so scared. I was like, Vision, the last 4 leaders completely failed in this role. Anyone hates the evergreen team. I remember the team was just 2 people, completely motivated and ready to go. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do it. And he told me, look, Alessio, this thing that you got with this test, if you can apply to the rest of Mindvalley, can change the company. And you can do that. Do you want to do that? Okay, let's go. Let's do it. Let me build the team. I'll recruit my team. I'll create the best team ever. And we're going to change the company through this. And that's what we did. I became the head of Evergreen in Mindvalley. And I remember that I took a team completely demotivated and I just turned it around. The first thing I did is that I look at numbers. I'm a number guy, I'm a data guy. I need to understand what's going on. So back then we had about 40 courses, and for each of the courses we had a lot of different funnels. We had a webinar funnel, we had a quiz funnel, we had a free mini course funnel, we had another funnel, I don't even remember what it is. So it was getting very complex. But when I look at the number was very clear. There is just one thing working, and that's the webinar funnel. So first thing, I eliminated 80% of the funnels, and I just kept the webinar funnel. That was the only one that was making money. So we don't have a lot of resources. Let's focus on what actually works. One of the things that shocked me when I took over is that one of our funnel didn't make any revenue for 3 months. And I was like, how come we're not making any revenue for 3 months in this funnel? The product is great, the angle is great, should work. And then I went back and I checked, and I remember that the checkout was broken. And people couldn't buy because the checkout link wasn't working. But you know, when you had like 40 products, 4 funnels per product, you have like 160 funnels. And it's impossible for any team, even if you have 10 people, to check all these 160 funnels. So it was extremely important to reduce the number of funnels and then focus on understanding how can we improve every single funnel so that we can see a lot better the numbers and really focus on that. That was a huge lesson. As soon as I started hiring my team, we focused so much on doing webinars, but doing webinars with very few mistakes. The less mistake you do, the simpler it is for you to generate revenue. That was incredible. I remember that one of the first projects was, how about we document everything that we're doing across all the different webinars, and then we start looking between webinars, which webinar worked better than the others and why. That was a huge discovery because we understood patterns. And we understood that there are different models of webinar that we were using in different products, and adjusting those models would allow us to make these things better and better and better. And from then on, it was simple. We wanted to be relentless on having the best webinar in the world. And I took my team and I went back to the concept of testing and growth hacking, and I say, how about we simply take this webinar and we look at every single part of the webinar. We look at the landing page, we look at the show up sequence, we look at the webinar itself, we look at the sales sequence, we look at the sales page, and we split test everything. We have 40 different products, so let's split test everything we can on this landing page across 40 different products. And then we see exactly, is this headline working better than this? Is having a video better than having an image? Is having a problem section better than having an author section? Should we have both? How many testimonials should be on a landing page? We split tested every single part of that funnel. But that was important because once you understand that having a video improved by 2% versus having an image, and you apply this across the board, you increase your revenue by 2%. And we literally did that step by step by step. It was a very big work, but it completely changed everything. And that team that just a few months before was the worst team on Mindvalley was already generating so much more revenue. And I remember that one day we had a problem with the tech platform that was running our webinar. That means that no one of our customers could actually watch our webinar anymore. It was clear we needed to make a migration. And that moment was life-changing because I look at my team and I was like, well, we have everything documented, right? Yeah, we do. So if we just close ourselves in a room and just migrate everything today, we save the company. Yeah, but that's kind of impossible. Like, no, there is not that word impossible. Let's do it. And so I went out, I took a lot of food for my team, put it at the center of the table. We had this very long table and I put about 10 people from my team and another team together. And I was like, guys, we don't go out, we don't go at home till when we don't fix this and do this entire migration for the company, because no customer out there can watch any of our webinar today. I remember it was a Friday and it was important that we would do it, because if we wouldn't do it, then for the entire weekend we wouldn't have a business. And we did that. And at the end of this, we went for a party, we celebrated, it was super exciting. And I look at my team and I was like, guys, that's basically like doing a hackathon. Like, that's what techie people do, right? They do hackathon to start and building something or fix something. Why don't we do this for all the things that we need to fix in this business? Because there is so many of them. And we're like, yes, that's exactly what we should do. And that's when we started to take things to the next level. I remember we did a hackathon to change out of our 400 YouTube videos to assign to each one of them the kind of call to action that we wanted to have for the different webinar. And then we changed 400 call to action in one day in our entire YouTube channel. And because our YouTube channel was growing so much, we were able to then generate hundreds of thousands of dollars every single month through our YouTube channel because of that hackathon. But it was so important because we didn't care about how much work we needed to do. This is money. Let's go and do it. We were so excited about that. So in the first 3 or 4 months on leading this evergreen team, we literally doubled the revenue of the company that we were making through evergreen campaigns. And this was a very exciting time. And in this exciting time, we also decided to transform the way in which we were running the company. Because back then we had an evergreen team and a launch team. It meant that someone was launching the courses and someone else was evergreening them. There is a bit of an issue there because someone fall in love with the product, learn everything about the angle, the course and everything, launch these products, and then someone else evergreen it, and then maybe don't understand the product as well as the person that launched it. And then the launch project is very stressing, as you can imagine. The evergreen is a bit more stable, right? So we're like, how about we unite this team? And we create a product marketing team, and then we have product owners. So someone owns 3 or 4 different products, and the product that they own, they launch whenever they need to launch, and they evergreen whenever they need to evergreen. So mini entrepreneurs in a team. And that was very exciting because this team became the core of all the revenue of Mindvalley. Like 95% of Mindvalley revenue came from this team. And I remember the recruiting strategy for the team was just so fun. We were hiring the youngest people ever. People straight out of university, no business experience, no marketing experience, were just coming here. Tons of people coming from Isaac because all we wanted were smart people, hungry, ready to learn, ready to move their entire life to Malaysia to become the best marketers in the world. And that's exactly what we built. I always say we were literally taking the people, throwing them in the ocean, making them swim with the shark, and if they survive, that will be good. Imagine every single marketer that will join that team, in 3 months, they needed to create $1 million launch, or they were out. And that's literally the baptism that you need to have, right? Because it's such a big goal, but obviously we had such great processes to replicate that everyone could do it. And obviously the first time we will support the new person coming in, the second time they will be able to do it alone, the third time they were already ready to innovate. That meant that in 6 to 9 months, that person was a world-class marketer. And that's really what we built. We built a team of people that were really ready to do incredible things. And if I look at the team that I had back then, it was really a team that was really inspiring me. Right now powers up so many of the incredible online education companies in the industry. Some of them, I remember Marisa, which is the current Chief Growth Officer of Mindvalley. She joined just 2 months before I started running the Evergreen team, and we worked so much together. She became such an incredible marketer right now, and all of that happened because of that environment that we created. It really changed everything. Now, just 3 months in, when I was leading the product marketing team, something happened. I mentioned before about Vadim, my friend, the one that recruited me to Mindvalley Core. He became the Chief Marketing Officer of the company, and he was my guide. He literally taught me so much about marketing. He was also my flatmates, right? So we really were talking about marketing every single day, and we were working so well together. But one day, he got tired, and he said, you know what, Alessio, I think you should be the next CMO. I'm like, what do you mean? Yeah, I'm quitting the company. I'm like, come on, Vadim, you cannot do this. We're doing this together. We're great because we're doing this together. I was like, no, you are great alone. Just, it's your time. And imagine this, 6 months before becoming CMO, I wasn't even a leader in this company. But in 3 months, I was leading the Evergreen team. Other 3 months, I was leading the product marketing team. And that literally meant that we were growing the revenue so much that it was inevitable for me to become the CMO of the company. Vishen agreed, and he said, Alessio, you're in. I'm so excited to have you in. Please be the next CMO of the company. And that's when the journey started. Now, when I became CMO in Mindvalley, I asked Vishen for a private chat. And I asked him, Vishen, what are the issues that you're having right now with the marketing team? He was a bit frustrated, and then he told me 12 issues that he had with the entire marketing team. And the things that I had was like, look, Vishen, I'm taking care of it. And every single day from that moment on, I was reporting of every single of the issues. I say, Vision, issue number 5, solved. Issue number 6, tomorrow we solve it. Issue number 7, we solve next week. Every single day I reported on all these issues, and I remember that after 2 weeks, all the issues were solved. That was so exciting because it built so much trust between me and Vision. He knew that whenever he had an issue, comes to me, solve it, I go and solve it. And that was the most important thing. And at the same time, the more I was solving an issue, the more Vision would give me space to test out new ideas. We work very well together because we're both very idea-driven people and we really like growth and really grow so much. And at the same time, I also could understand that whenever he had such a big issue, such a big problem, I could go in and fix it. That's all he needed to do. And that built such a fantastic relationship that I think is so important for a CEO and a CMO to have. And I remember that for me, there was a very clear way in which we could scale from 25 to 75 million. And the Quest was really the core engine of how we wanted to grow. And I even went to Vision and say, look, Vision, my idea is very simple. We have a Mercedes, we have a Ferrari. Why don't we just have a Ferrari? Why don't we transform all our courses into Quest? And why don't we make sure that we can do those quests as often as possible? So in the first 6 months, we started doing the Quest once a month. And after that, I pushed a bit more. Why don't we do this quest every 2 weeks? And then after that, why don't we do the quest every week? Now, this seems very simple, but it was extremely difficult. Imagine having community manager running 40 courses at the same time. It was very difficult to do. Imagine transforming an entire course into a quest and making a huge course of 8 hours into 10 mini lessons, 10 minutes lesson every single day. It was very difficult. There was tech changes. We needed to be able to change the page automatically through some tech. It took like a year and a half to get everything together. I remember just scaling the community from having 40 courses to 160 courses basically running every single month with parallel community. It was a huge, huge thing that we did. But it absolutely changed the way we were working and the results that we were doing. And that was step 1, transforming everything into a quest. Lesson for me, whenever you have a Mercedes and a Ferrari, choose the Ferrari. The second thing that I really wanted to do to grow our business, it was obviously growing advertising. Just imagine that when I took over the marketing team, we were spending about $100,000 a month. So it was pretty low. We weren't doing that great. But once we started improving our funnels, improving the evergreen, took the Mercedes out and focusing on the Ferrari, obviously the funnel started to perform better, which meant that the advertising results started to become better and better. And that really allowed us to be able to start scaling. At the same time, we were a bit lucky because Mindvalley was a great media company. I think that very few companies back then had the quality of video that we were having, but we weren't doing much with those videos. And at the same time, YouTube started to become a bigger and bigger platform. So we started having a bigger YouTube strategy, also organic. But we weren't having a good YouTube advertising strategy. That changed when YouTube launched TrueView Click for Action, which is basically that button that you find on YouTube that allows you to click on any video and then go in any landing page. We were one of the first companies in the world to get access to the feature and to focus on that. And because we have so many amazing videos, we were able to take those videos, those ads, and transform it into something unique. We had a competitive advantage that no one else had. I remember that we were able to scale from 0 to 500K a month on YouTube in 1 year. And the more we were spending, the more we were growing, and the more we will take our business to a complete different level. But the concept wasn't just about focusing on YouTube advertising or Facebook advertising. It was, how do we take the entire experience to the next level? Now, one of the interesting part is we really weren't looking at competition. When people were asking me, who's your competition? Is this course creator or this other course creator? I'm like, no, we don't look at that. So who's your competition? Well, Netflix? Netflix? Yeah, Netflix. Because think about it. Like, you need to think that you're not competing with another course creator. You're competing with time. When people come back from work, they're tired, and they see your ad and they actually need to decide, should I spend 2 hours watching this Mindvalley masterclass or should I spend 2 hours binge watching the next Netflix shows? Well, that's your competition. And we really wanted to create something that was so good that people wanted to watch our masterclass instead of Netflix. And then we started to take things to the next level. I remember one day, Lady Gaga filmed a music video in the same studio we were filming our Mindvalley masterclass. But that was the quality of things we wanted to do. We want to be Lady Gaga level. We want to be Netflix level. That's the level where we want to play. And also we started asking ourselves, well, if Netflix is launching the next TV series, how are they launching it? Well, they do a trailer. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So how about we take our masterclass and then we transform it into an incredible trailer and then we use that as our advertisement. We tested it out and it was incredible. Like the results we got from our trailers helped us to scale advertising so much. We obviously built an incredible advertising team with fantastic media buyers, with good agencies that were helping us as well. But the main focus was really how do we create incredible funnels, incredible creatives, how do we elevate the entire experience and the entire brand so that everything goes to the next level. That was the game-changing thing that we did that allowed us to scale like never before. Back then, all Mindvalley courses were in English. And that's funny because the team was from 60 different countries, so we were the most international team ever, but everything was happening just in English. And I remember that one day we received a random email from a random guy from Mexico, and this guy was telling, hey, I can translate your entire course in Spanish and I will do everything for you. Would you be okay to partner up on this? And we looked at each other and was like, we don't know who is this guy, but let's give him a chance. Let's see exactly what he would do. And I would say he did a so-so job. But when we took this output and we put it on advertising and we start scaling the advertising on that, we saw incredible results. We saw that the first course in Spanish achieved over $100,000 of ad spend in less than 1 month. And we were so excited because the leads were so cheap. Imagine we were used to US cost per lead and then going to Spanish speaking cost per lead was much lower. And we were seeing so many people so excited. Like the biggest problem was that people were thinking that it was a scam. They couldn't believe that a course so beautiful was actually happening. And whenever they were seeing, they were just raving fans. And then we felt, okay, there is something huge that's happening here. We need to transform this as a division and we need to take everything to the next level. And that's why I took one of my best team members that was leading the Evergreen team. She was named Kepti. And then we moved there into internationalization. And in 1 year, we went from running this single course in Spanish to having 7 different languages: Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, French, German, Arabic, and we even started Chinese a bit. And that was completely changing the entire company because I think that we added about $7 million in revenue just from that division alone. But that was because we went super fast and we understood that with our quality, with the things that we were doing, we will just beat the competition in all these countries because no one was doing courses so advanced like Mindvalley was doing back then. No one had our Quest technology, no one had our Netflix style trailers, no one had anything of that. We're like light years ahead of all these markets. So we could just go in and dominate. And the strategy was actually pretty simple. Back then, advertising was working differently. Lookalike were working so beautifully. So what we started doing was taking our customer list in US and then simply look for lookalike in Germany, in France, in Italy, in Latin America. And it was just working like magic. We were able to scale up and grow like never before. Now, those 3 levels of growth were magical. But the last one is what made a permanent mark on Mindvalley. Because we all knew it. We had 40 different courses. We're selling each course for about $300, and that works, but there is a huge issue. We don't really have a great subscription, and everything was moving towards subscription. Now, keep in mind this, Mindvalley is a bootstrap company. That means that money in, money out. We don't have funding, we cannot waste money on some random project. We really need to keep it tight, right? And changing the business model from transactional to subscription is a huge deal, because if people buy less or you make less revenue from subscription versus transactional, well, that become a huge issue. And we really needed to make this change. I remember Vision was very afraid of that. A lot of people in the exec team were very afraid of making this change. And so I came up with an idea. What if we do a very simple membership that it works like Audible? And I remember it was called Mindvalley University Online. And this membership will work like Audible because we'll have credits, meaning that you can have 3 credits every year, and every year you can apply these credits to new courses that you want to buy. But we don't launch this membership to everyone. To keep it safe, we do it as an upsell, meaning if someone buy a product, we give them the proposal to upsell to this membership where they can get the credit and they can buy basically 3 courses for the price of 2. And this was very interesting because we felt, okay, this might not work, it's too complex, it's too difficult, but it worked very well. We started seeing our revenue growing and growing and growing, our upsell take rate becoming bigger and bigger, and people getting very excited about the idea of having more courses. And I was like, Vision, let's keep it simple. Why don't we build a membership and allow people to get access to all the courses, but just as an upsell? So I just bought one course and I tell you, hey, for the price of another course, you can get access to all the courses of Mindvalley for 1 year. Would you be interested in that? We did that and it was a success. It improved our average order value a lot more. Keep in mind that right now we already grew very fast. We grew already from 25 million to 50 million in 1 year. And we really wanted to continue this growth. So there was a huge pressure of how do we go to the next level? How do we go to the 75 million mark? And this membership as an upsell worked incredibly. It worked so well that then went to Vision and was like, Vision, we need to take this membership and have it everywhere. How about we do the biggest launch that we can? And I remember that we decided to launch by doing a social contest. Basically, people could enter the contest, and the contest was like, become a subscriber of Mindvalley on YouTube, film yourself doing a meditation, like this video on Instagram, follow this person here, refer another person to join Mindvalley email list. And we had probably 100,000 people joining this social contest because it was so exciting. And the reward for this contest was you get access to all the Mindvalley product for life. And that was like nuts because we have 40 products, $300 each, that's like $12K. It was costing a lot of money to get access to all the courses. And so we had so many people entering and being part of this contest. Obviously, someone won the contest and was able to get access to all the courses. And for everyone that participated, we unveiled the new membership. And we say, well, you know this incredible reward that cost $12,000 and that this person got? Well, now you can get access to it at $500 a year. Would you like to join? And that was a very huge launch. It did so well. We're very excited because we finally had a very great membership that was generating tons of revenue, tons of subscribers, tons of results, and was making Mindvalley a lot simpler. People were just like, join Mindvalley. And we're able to join, get access to all the different courses, and get the best experience ever in personal growth with one of the best LMSs, the best teachers, everything that could come together. And here is where Vision was a lot more visionary than me, because my idea was, well, probably we'll have like 20% of the revenue coming from subscription, 80% will stay on the transaction. And Vision looked at me and like, no, in 1 year, we're gonna stop selling any courses. We're just gonna sell the membership. Like, Vision, this is impossible. How can you do that? We risk. Vision's like, don't worry, we're gonna make it. 1 year and then we stop everything. And it gave us this incredible challenge, but Vision has a bit this reality distortion feel sometimes of like setting this incredible goal and then go and do it. And we did it, and it was a very big journey. I was present just for the first part of the journey, then the team continued and finished the journey of transition everything to subscription, I think a year after I left. But that membership was really the game changer that took Mindvalley to the absolute next level. Now, my Mindvalley journey was one of the coolest journey ever. I found myself, I found my passion, I found my wife in Mindvalley, I from my best friend. I even found the videographer that's filming this video here. Say hi, Tony. I was leading a team of over 50 people divided in 8 different teams, I think from 30 different countries. I probably wasn't the best marketer in the world. I'm sure that there were people, even in Mindvalley itself, that were better marketers than me, but I'm 100% sure I was the best marketing leader in Mindvalley, and that's what allowed me to then grow the company so well. Because it's not just about being a great marketer, it's about leading the team in the direction that you want to be. And leadership to me has been a skill that I started developing in ISEC, maybe even when I was doing the parties in the club, and I continue to develop it in Mindvalley and then today in the agency. But that made the difference together with my marketing skills. So that was really the changing point for me. And at the same time, I told you from the beginning of my story, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I did so well for Mindvalley. We grew again 25 to 75 million in 2 years, such an incredible run that we have had. But it was really the time for me to take things to the next level. I remember I was having a conversation with Vision and we had different visions of where the company should go. And I came back home and I was like, if I have a vision that's so strong and that I feel that I want to make it happen, maybe I should make it happen anyway. Maybe I have already what I need to start my own company. I don't need to wait anything else. I have the skills, I have the needs, I have a good experience right now, and I have a very strong vision. Let's go and do it. But I was scared, right? I was very scared of making that jump. I'm like, how do I even do it? How do I even start it? And then I turned back to, again, the same friend that I said before, Vadim. And he already left the company and he was consulting. And the consulting that he was doing was still in the same space, in online education. And he was making more money than I was making in Mindvalley while consulting. I was like, come on, he works a lot less than me and he's making more money than me. And so I decided, you know what, let's do this. I'll leave the company, start my own startup, and at the same time, I'll start consulting. And this will make at least the same money that I'm making right now, right? And that's how I did it. I took the leap. But I took the leap because I was so sure that other people before me did it and were able to do very well. And having that kind of safety changed everything. My journey in Mindvalley has been crazy good. And the journey before has been crazy. But here is the most important things, the lessons that I think that everyone should learn. Number one, in the beginning of your career, never focus on money. You need to focus on your passion. What's the thing that will really takes your life to the next level? For me, that was discovering marketing, online education, and I'm sure that for you might be something like that. At the same time, if you're looking into how do you scale a big company in online education, there are different engines that you can find. The one that really worked very well for me were, number one, focusing on transforming everything into a quest. For you, I would say transform into cohorted courses because they work so much better than normal courses. Then focusing on advertising and taking your brand, your videos, your creatives to the absolute next level. Then focus on internationalization. English is obviously the biggest market, but there is so many other markets out there. And then last but not the least, really need to have a subscription strategy. It changed the way in which you can take a business from where it is to where it could be. And obviously for me, leadership skills is everything. Once you can lead a team and take it to the next level, that changes absolutely everything. And that's been the base also for the next chapter that I've had in my life, which is Scale for Impact, my marketing agency, where right now I'm doing a lot of the same thing that I learned in Mindvalley, but for other creators in the space. We work with people like Tony Robbins, Marisa Pierce, Farid Sabari, Danny Morel, Jordan Peterson, Mindvalley. We did a lot of great work for some of the biggest launches in the industry, and we keep on doing this in the same exact way. And if you watch this video, something was interesting for you and you want to jump on a call, discover more about how maybe I can help your business in this way, you can just book a call below. And if not, no worries. You can just click the subscribe button, give a like, give a comment please if you like this video and want to see more of this kind of stories. I'm super excited to give you the best and the rawness of all my content here to you on this channel. See you to the next video.